So, good evening. We are sitting together again with my lovely friend, my mentor, my teacher, Chuck Spezzano in Hawaii. And it's the second podcast. We've had one in the last week. Now we have a second one. Maybe it's time to go a little bit deeper or whatever is coming in. So, Chuck, first of all, thanks a lot again for your time and that we have a chance to talk together for a second podcast, and maybe can go for some other topics and go a little bit deeper, I think so. So welcome to my podcast and thanks a lot for your time. And you're sitting still in Hawaii, right? It's Hawaii.
Yes, I still am.
Yeah, great. But at the end, in May, there will be a good chance to mention it right at the beginning. Maybe we have a chance to talk about a little bit later on. But in May, you will be here in Germany for a three-day workshop. And so it's ready to order. So everyone can get a ticket for the workshop in May. And then you can have a chance to see you live in Germany, which is a great opportunity for all of us. So, yeah.
It's good to be back. I've been just coming once a year, but this will get another weekend one. But also the evening before is going to be filled. And I believe there's no charge for the first evening. And so we have some major healers from around the world.
Yeah.
We will in some evening. I'll be the MC.
Great.
And introduce them.
Yeah, wonderful. So I think at the moment, maybe it's important also for the people who are listening this now, there's till, I think, the 15th of February, there will be an early bird price, a very cheap price. So it's a good opportunity to get your ticket before the 15th of February, because there's an early bird ticket offered by Frankfurter Ring for this great workshop. So this was the promotion part. This was the advertising. Let's go deep. So, what is when in our talk before, before I start the recording, we are talking about the topic of this workshop in May. Maybe that's a good opportunity, Chuck. Give us some ideas. What will you touch in this workshop? What will be the topic?
Well, there's a number of topics, and the way I can feel it right now, as well as see it, is that we start off working healing ancestral patterns, and we start that off the night before, because as I say, there are some brilliant healers who will be on deck to warm things up, and these patterns have a way of bringing down everything unhealed in our families. It's a family karma. And from what I found deep in the mind is we chose that family.
That's a tough sentence, so to say. I choose my family, really?
Yesterday, I just heard from my Japanese master trainer who was in some of Yu Lin's workshops. And Morna Simeona, who began the Ho'oponopono, the focused one of saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you repeat that over and over again to a problem situation, a problem person, and it begins to take off layer by layers the karma, and which are the patterns, the self-defeating patterns. And she said, Morna Simeona said, and who had been working, she'd worked in Germany, and as a matter of fact, she was teaching till later in life, and she passed away in Germany in just one of her workshops. But she said many times people who are our family in this life were enemies in past lives.
Explains a lot. Let's explain a lot.
Anyway,
but you see, we're going much more deeper than in the first part, I think.
Yeah. So,
but Chuck, one question. Maybe there are some people listening to this and say, but you know, I choose my family. Ooh, that's a strange idea. And could you explain a little bit more? How could how could it possibly be that things which happened maybe 2 or 3 or 4 generations ago still influence us here now in our families? So could you explain a little bit more this topic, or how it's going, or what you see in your work? In which way do it? Because the people are dead. You know, it's long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I think some of the research in DNA right now
Hmm.
and some of the patterns. There was a book that my son gave me 2 years ago, and haven't really had time to really dive into it. But it's called it did not begin with you, and it
Hmm.
was more scientific stuff. But this is stuff that I've known since the early '70s, actually, because it showed up in my first clients.
Hmm.
And in the first clients I had, I was still in graduate school. I didn't know what this was or how it was, but I was determined to find a way forward.
Hmm.
So that within 2 years, I found a healing model that would work to heal these patterns. Now you say, oh, this is so, this is just made up. Well, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting.
Yeah.
So what would happen is people's lives would get better, and these chronic problems that they had would dissolve.
Hmm. Hmm. So
Right.
it's like, it's like in Germany we have the saying, if it's healed, if it will heal, it is right. I think this is the right translation for it. So if it's
Uh-huh.
working, it's okay, and I think this is the
Right.
point. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
See, we live in a world that's made up of metaphors. We live in a
Hmm.
world that's made up of dreams, as the
Hmm.
Buddhist and as it states also in the Course in Miracles. And so, what we're seeing is what's in our mind. Buddha went on to say, it's my mind that makes the dream.
Hmm.
Now, that's pretty powerful. And, in the Course in Miracles, it explains about projection and how everything we don't like about ourselves or are scared about ourselves. Like if you see some gift out there, you go, oh, I'd love to have that. But you're also afraid to have that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so everything for the ego is built around guilt and fear.
Hmm.
And of course, where you have guilt, you don't want to have guilt. And the ego's idea of getting rid of guilt is to attack someone.
Hmm.
But then you attack yourself.
Hmm.
And then the world gets worse.
Yeah, yeah.
It's learning to, have some mind discipline,
Hmm.
but it gives you great power because it allows you to free yourself from long-standing patterns. And so right away in the '70s, obviously I began this work when I was 3.
For
I,
sure. We both.
yeah,
You.
exactly. So and then I found a way, and it just time after time, people's lives would get better, and they clear one pattern, and a week to a month later, another pattern would show
Mhm.
up from mom's side of the family or dad's side of the family.
Mhm.
But to see brothers and sisters being freed,
Mhm.
to see ourselves being freed, because sometimes it'll skip a generation in the symptom.
Mhm. Interesting.
So and predilections for cancer,
Mhm.
allergies, and other major illnesses are just passed down through the family.
Mhm.
So you can help everybody.
Mhm. So that's really an interesting point. And could you give us, maybe you have some examples of for some concrete stories you've had in the past with your students or in your workshops. So to make it very real for the people, what does it mean when you say there's a pattern going on? What is a pattern? How it's influenced my life today? So I think many people think this is my life, that is I am, and I have no influence. What's my granddad is doing in the Second World War, or whatever.
Right. But see, the past is over, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
It doesn't exist
yeah.
except, and so that means, and since psychology is about healing those past patterns, psychology is really an illusion. But it's a very helpful illusion. It's like forgiveness. It dissolves these patterns that yesterday I was working with someone and we were working back in the womb. And again, you think this, how could this be real? You know, I'm just this size, or I'm just a tadpole, and then how is this affecting me? Well, in the womb, we're like psychic sponges. So everything going on with our parents, we take it in as if it's us and if it's ours. So there's easy ways to heal that. In the 70s, I just had some, because I developed this thing as an alternative to hypnosis. It's your intuition, and it does the same thing without all the ritual of hypnosis. For instance, if I ask you, Boris, if you were to know the best year of your life is when you were at the age of
8.
Great. And if you were to know the worst year of your life is when you were at the age of
3.
Yeah. Now these are, the 8-year-old is, of course, a year that symbolizes self-love and abundance and receiving. So that was the best year. That's a really good thing. But 3 is all around, is symbolic of your purpose, of success and victory. So, and it's in our generation, in the last 60 years, and I've been doing this work for 55 years, this is the most common age for traumas.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've heard it a lot.
Yeah. But who remembers 3? Most people. So, but you can access it with intuition.
So is it like sometimes people say, what I feel sometimes when I work with people, also in my coachings, that people have, I think, a little bit problems to trust what is the first idea which came in. It's like you ask the question, like you asked me now, and I answer it. But sometimes people, it's a little bit like, oh, I don't know, I can't remember. Maybe I have to think about, and then people needs 1 minute, 2 minutes to answer a very simple question. So this is sometimes what I find, that people don't trust their intuition.
Right. If it goes past 3 seconds, your ego has you.
Yeah, I think so.
And your ego does not want you to get these answers. It doesn't want to reveal what it's done over the years and over the decades and how it's affecting you. It wants to keep you weak, so you rely on your ego, which is just a personal life. It's everything about a personal life. But in that personal life, the ego takes anything that doesn't give it respect. It treats that as, I'm going to condemn you to crucifixion. I'm going to condemn you to hell.
Yeah.
And then it hides that. So we don't realize all the things going on in the subconscious. But since 1973, when I was working with hypnosis, that's all I've been working with is the subconscious, and then the unconscious started showing up. And well, that showed up right away with ancestrals. That's the unconscious mind. And we don't want to know that. We're afraid to know that. But if you realize that, if you're willing to know that and know that you're innocent. Now, I've known people who've done terribly heinous things to other people, tortured other people, molested children, murdered other people. But when you get down to the bottom line and they can understand and accept and forgive themselves, have compassion for themselves, it's like finally the pattern is released. Like I worked with a Marine in 1975. Okay. And he and I got really close. So we were able to heal a lot of things. Like one time he was about to go back to the hospital for an operation with hemorrhoids, and it was so bad he was sitting on a little cushion that they give to women after birth. That's how bad his things were. And I sat down with him and I said, well, what's going on with you? And we started going intuitively deeper and deeper, and found out that his father had gone crazy because of a brain tumor. And everything the father didn't consider to be the way he wanted it, he would beat his ass until it was bloody. And he said, I promise you that I wouldn't be doing drugs while I was here, but I have been. And I'm really sorry about that. And I had this pattern of getting my ass beat until it was bloody. I said, well, I'm not going to do that. But I went back and helped him recommit to being drug-free and to recommit to his healing path. And he did that and regained his innocence in that one area. And so when he went in for the operation the next day at the hospital, and he was lying on the operating table, and the surgeon came in and looked at his anus, and he's going, this guy there's no problem here. You got the wrong Marine. He was totally healed in that one instant. And I've seen cancers disappear like that. So there was another instance where I was coming up from lunch, and it was the same Marine, and they said, and everybody's at the top of the stairs, you better go get your participant, go get your man, because he's freaking out. So I went down to the end of the hall, and he was tearing these big wooden lockers. He was tearing them down, and he was taking mattresses and throwing them across the room, and taking beds and tearing the box springs off and throwing them all over the place. So I looked at him, went to the other end of the room, and start tearing, the big wooden lockers down and taking the mattresses and throwing them in the box springs. And after a minute, he stopped doing what he was doing, looked over at me and said, Spezzano, what the fuck are you doing? I said, well, you're my client. You want to tear the room up? I'm just going to help you. I said, but if you give me a minute, and we had that strong connection. I said, I can change the way you're looking at things. And he goes, all right, 1 minute. So we went and sat down, and I said, what are you enraged about? He said, the staff sergeant, I am going to kill him. Now, the staff sergeant was like my best friend on the whole floor. He was really a wise man. He was a staff sergeant. He had been in Vietnam. He had been a drill instructor, so he knew how to be a hard ass. And he had told me earlier, he said, I'm being a hard ass on these guys because if they go back to the military, they'll get killed. I just got ready. And I knew it was like the movie The Officer and the Gentleman, where the drill instructor really had a love for these men who were going to become officers and flyboys and things like this. And I knew his heart was really strong like that, really pure. And my guy was going, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. I said, I'll bet you a steak dinner that if at the end of the month you don't see him completely different, I'll buy you the steak dinner. Or you'll buy me. I guess it'll have to be next lifetime. But we went back, and the root of it went back to when he had killed someone in Mexico.
Yeah.
Because before he joined the Marines, he had been a drug dealer. And somebody had come in and stolen all of his drugs at gunpoint, and all of his money. Now, in the drug culture, if that happens to you, you're seen as weak, and everybody tries to kill you. So he knew it was either him or me. So he ended up killing this guy, but the guilt was just eating away at them, which is what the ego does. It just keeps guilt, and it hides it. And we don't realize that when we most felt victimized, there was a huge amount of guilt, because everything's karma. So we were punishing ourselves at one level. We were attacking ourselves for some past pattern. Sometimes something passed through the family, sometimes through another lifetime. And we went back to that place in Juarez. I helped him understand, the culture he was in, the condition he was in. And then we went back to this relationship with his father. where so many times his father was enraged because of this brain tumor and would go for his mother, and he would just get in the way and just getting beaten by his father, and how that rage has been stored up in him and then came out in this situation. So as he could heal the root of it, and then he could release what he had done. Because if you get victimized and you don't heal it, you either withdraw from life and stay a victim, or you become a victimizer, even inadvertently. You just become so independent, so dissociated, that because you're trying to defend yourself from the pain, so you don't realize when you're stepping on somebody else's toes. You don't want to hurt your girlfriend, but or your children, or your partner, but you can't help it if you have this built up inside you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a very interesting aspect, and I think it's very, very important to bring into the world and heal your life and the life of your family and everyone around you. When we look at the workshop in May, so it will be in Germany. So Germany has a very, very special, so to say, history. When you look at the Second World War and all the bad things that happened there, I think there's a lot of guilt going around. And I was born 20 years after all this shit has happened. And but also I feel when I travel around as a young man in Europe, I go to other countries. It's happened many, many years ago before my birth, but I still feel this topic of, oh, you're German. And that's the first thing when I say, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. It's like a very, very old guilt. And I think many, many people in my generation and also in the new generation, I know it from my children also, that they have still this feeling of feeling very guilt because they are German and there was something bad happened in from my children. It's I don't know, it's 50 years ago after the Second World War, but it's still there. This feeling of, it's like it's like if you want to control a German, just talk about the Second World War, and my feeling is we will do everything. It's like, oh no, I'm so sorry, It's not very natural our reaction. So yeah, but I think that's also a very interesting topic to look at, especially when we will have a workshop with you in May about what's going on in our in the last centuries here in Germany.
Well, what I know from working 55 years now and deep in the mind is that everybody is truly innocent. Okay. Basically, that's how we were created. We were created innocent, but the ego, in its separation, in its breaking away, in its being victimized, which actually, bottom line, was a way so we could do it our way and be independent. But we become dissociated and we lose our heart.
I know it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I was doing a workshop maybe 15 years ago outside of Frankfurt, and the name of the workshop was Der Wunderwagen.
Yeah, I remember the workshop. I remember it. Yeah. The Wunderwagen. Yeah.
And so I was going around and greeting people, old friends and new people, and before it started, and I got about to the 8 o'clock position, and I heard the voice, which I've always listened to, and well, not always, but I do my best. And I heard
Me too.
yeah, the name of this workshop is not Der Wunderwagen, it's Der Wunderwagen. So I ran up to my interpreter. I says, "What does that mean?" She said, "Oh, it means it's a miracle workshop." And I just had chicken skin all over. It was just like, so I went back and I went back to the 8 o'clock position to greet everyone, and then I heard the voice again. It said, "The souls of those born in Germany since World War II are the souls of peacekeepers." And that it hit me so
That's very
much,
deep. Yeah.
the truth, that tears just shot out of my eyes.
Mhm.
Because, I worked in Germany for years and I knew that that was the truth.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then people who didn't are still caught in the old pattern.
Mhm.
And that can be changed.
Mhm.
So that people know that they're gifted and they are actually have a special function in the world as Germans.
Mhm. Oh,
So
that's very deep. I get chicken skin all over. So I think it's a very, very deep message for all people living in Germany, because the fight, my feeling is the Second World War is not over, the energy is still there. It's like it's going
right.
on like in pattern in the society when you have discussions or whatever. It's like still going on. What's happens there. Yeah.
My wife is a super sensitive and developed a method of healing, which is about pure love and burning through emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So every once in a while, she would pick a topic like the Civil War in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
which is still going on.
Yeah.
And she would go in and start feeling it. And for days, she would just be in this utter pain, but she would be burning away some of that karma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a powerful method, and it's not for everyone, but boy, can it have some results. And first thing is it gets you your heart back.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written some books that are only published in German.
Mm-hmm.
And most of my books are published in Germany. It's like I have this connection with Germany. Some different healers are assigned to different places. I have a buddy of mine in Britain. He was assigned to the US.
Mm-hmm.
So we wave each other in the skies as we pass, just going to different
Interesting. Yeah.
places. And just before I come to Germany, I'll be in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll be doing a lot of work. Now, there's some very dire predictions about what will happen in Japan in the summer of July 2025.
Okay.
But I know that that can be changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and since the 90s, with the predictions of the best psychics in the world about what was going to happen, I was going, not on my watch,
Mm-hmm.
not while I still breathe, not while if I can be aware of it, I know there's things that can be done about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, 40 years ago, my kahuna, which is a Hawaiian healer, she said, I just want you to practice one thing. She said, practice changing the weather. And I was going, yeah, that's such a small thing. Why do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
40 years later, I'm going, wow. She was so prescient. She was so visionary in her awareness of what's needed to happen. And I've been in Japan where there's category 5 hurricanes, typhoons coming to Taiwan. Twice this has happened. And what's happened is we got the whole group mind working on doing all kinds of healing exercises, visualizing and forgiving. And I've learned some very interesting new ways since that time. And both times it went from a category 5 typhoon down to a tropical storm.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Wonderful. Yeah.
So if you can be aware of it, and some of these things are pushing up from the collective unconscious,
Mm-hmm.
everything unhealed in the history of humanity. And I was predicting this 10 years ago. I said it's the shice is about to hit the fan. Get ready,
Yeah.
because big things are about to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but if you can be aware of it, what I know of the power of the mind is joined together with love and the power of heaven, you can change anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not heaven's will that something catastrophic or cataclysmic happen.
That's very important. Sometimes people say, oh, it's God will because we are so guilty or whatever. He will punish us. This is what sometimes people think. I don't believe it also. That's not true. but sometimes people say, okay, we are so guilty and God will punish us.
Well, that's a belief system, but it's a belief system that invites attack but secretly has attack, because judgment is attack.
Mm-hmm.
And judgment, if you study judgment, as I have in the deeper mind, and grievances, they hide your own guilt.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really powerful one exercise if you are feeling courageous right now.
I have to go. Oh, sorry, it's too late. No, I'm always ready. I'm always ready.
I know that's your motto, always ready.
Yeah.
I remember when I worked with the Navy and Marines as a psychologist, and sometimes I would run around the base at lunchtime. Mm-hmm. And the one part you'd pass by the landing strip of mm-hmm. the different squadrons, and there was this one squadron of fighter pilots, and the motto was always ready. And I go, hey, that's my motto. How did you guys get it? Yeah. So anyhow, okay, this is very powerful, but the healing effects will be major. Who do you feel, if you were to know, committed the unforgivable sin against you?
It's interesting. My grandfather, I don't know why. I never met him, so he died many, many years ago. But this was the first idea.
The bugger. You're making me pay for your sins. Yeah,
I don't know why, but it's the first idea.
Mother's side or father's side, by the way?
Father's side.
Mother's side. So if you were to know, if you realize that one of the easy ways to heal that kind of pattern, because here's a place, you're a natural leader in Germany, but you feel this guilt. Mm-hmm. You feel this wound. I was victimized by my grandfather. But basically, if you understand that where you have a belief that someone committed an unforgivable sin against you, it's to hide a place where you feel you have committed an unforgivable sin. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what is the unforgivable sin you believe you committed?
Not to be very fair against a woman. So, yeah.
Okay.
To not handle and to not react in a respectful way to a woman.
Uh-huh. So you must be a guy. Yeah, last time you checked, good red-blooded.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's so many mistakes passed between the sexes, but so do you want to get rid of that guilt?
Yeah, for sure. It feels not very good.
You understand your maturity level as you grew up. Mm-hmm. And can you understand the zeitgeist about relationships early on? Mm-hmm. And what are women for? A good time or whatever it was, and then, so, back in those days, you didn't have any conscious idea, oh, this is just the way it is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But inside you were building up this guilt. Mm-hmm. And so to keep from feeling that guilt, because if you feel all the guilt you had inside, you go running off a cliff. Mm-hmm. That's what A Course in Miracles says. Mm-hmm. So we take it in chunks, but this is a big chunk to get rid of. So can you understand, given the culture you were in and what was happening, how you had this attitude?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can you accept that that's how you were?
Yeah. On the deepest level, yes, absolutely.
Acceptance, see, where you don't accept, you get hurt or heartbroken. Mm-hmm. And you're defeated and stuck. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to like it. But if you can accept it, you go on to the next step and you keep moving on to the next step. It can take you all the way to heaven. Is the power of acceptance. Okay, now can you have compassion for yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the freedom in it.
Yeah. Can you forgive yourself?
Yeah, there was thick skin. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now it's like, can you see all that hidden guilt about not being totally respectful to women gets released?
Mm-hmm.
And where you got off the track back there, you can ask to be put back on heaven's track, which is peace and success and ease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that guilt would keep you from having, a true love relationship,
Mm-hmm.
which once you're past all the attraction level is just healing work and how to join more
Mm-hmm.
and how to build up what in A Course in Miracles is called a holy relationship instead of a special relationship
Mm-hmm.
is just to get our needs met.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
So now, do you want to go deeper?
Always.
Okay. So can you see that this attitude toward women, well, um, gaze, if you will, at all your past lifetimes as a man?
Mm-hmm.
How did you treat women?
Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
overall it's a mix of both, but I don't know. I have some points of not very good.
Can you, given the zeitgeist, given the family culture, given the way everybody believed and believed about women, can you understand how you acted that way?
I can see it. Yeah.
So now,
But it's
can you
interesting to see it, and there's still this guilt, like it's not
come with
okay.
me? Come with me. Come with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you accept it? Or the choice is you can camp here and be stuck with it and have this hidden guilt. But or you could accept, oopsie, yeah, I don't like it, but I can accept
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
it. Can you have compassion for yourself in all those lifetimes about your life, your family culture, the culture in the world?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now can you forgive yourself?
That's a deep one. Yeah.
But here, look at this. When you were a woman in your past lives, how did you treat women?
Not very good.
Right. It's a pattern.
Yeah.
So, but if you can understand the zeitgeist, the family culture, what was going on with you personally,
Mm.
it's like then you can actually make a difference
Yeah.
as a man or a woman in valuing women.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've studied in the mind and sociologically, that's what's going to save us.
Mm-hmm.
Is the feminine, valuing the feminine, partnering with the feminine. Because right now we live in a dissociated masculine culture, which means we're busy hiding everything that we don't like
Yeah.
about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about how underneath being so independent and dissociated, that underneath we were just like, really frightened. We were big, we were really a chicken to really
Don't
venture.
don't mention my nickname you gave me once in a workshop. The Colonel of Kentucky Fried Chicken. You remember?
Saunders. It's like, but that's what we all go through. I mean, I was laughing because I went through that
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know if I could ever get through that.
Mm-hmm.
But the final stages, if you do get into a relationship, you got to get through the trust stage and give up control. And then you move into dead zone, tota zona.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can, and when I got together with my wife of now 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
my biggest question was, can I get through the dead zone? I've gotten through power struggles before, even with super tigers, but I hadn't learned how to get through the dead zone. But Lexi and I learned that together. And
Wow.
then there's life after commitment.
Really?
Yes. Back in 1984, I did a workshop called "Is There Life After Commitment?" 4 people showed up.
I think so.
But it's still a question. If we can get, and what I found about over 20 years ago was that if we can get to a place of partnership, and this has to do with us moving out of our independent side as a man or a woman and being willing to commit to freedom, ease, and partnership, that all of a sudden the world will shift categorically. But right now, we want to make everybody enemies, anybody who thinks different than us.
Yeah. Chuck, one question I have to ask you this. I don't know, it came into my mind when you're talking about the dead zone. This is also, I think this is a trap, or whatever it is. When you go with in a partnership, you're going through it. It's like, it's boring. It's like it's like everything is dead. There's no sex, there's no juice, there's no fun. It's like an endless desert of boring time. Do you have, I don't know why I have to ask you this, but when I listen to the mind of the listeners of this podcast, they will all sit there and say, "Oh, I know what you're talking about. What should I do? What should I do?"
Okay. So one of the things you can do is commitment, because it's the choice to connect. And every time you do that, you take a step forward. Now, when I was in the dead zone, and sometimes really deep in the dead zone, and I would commit, things would get better for half a second.
Oh my goodness.
And then the next step would be deeper into the dead zone. But I was aware enough to realize I had made progress. But who has courage to go deeper into it to get out of it? Okay, here's an easy way. Okay, everything underneath it comes down to fear. We're afraid of intimacy. I mean, that's what we want with a partner. But we're afraid of intimacy because we think we're inadequate to handle it. But the thing is, when you take the step forward, it's like that step gives you the confidence to handle it. Every heartbreak we had, and this is the research that I found, because I was a gold medalist in heartbreaks and in guilt and in holding on. I was telling my son this yesterday. In the Special Olympics, I won gold medals in all of those categories. And it was either lay down and die or find a way out. So everything is fear, right? So okay. So under your independence, how much dissociation is there?
90%.
So to live your purpose, to be even more successful, you need your heart back. Okay. So we'll get back to that part, because that's a beautiful part. But underneath everything is fear. So let's imagine, Boris, that all of that fear about joining, all that fear about intimacy and new levels of success. So, and your purpose and the unconscious mind, where there's demons and dragons and treasures, but let's imagine it as a dark cloud in front of you, 2 steps in front of you. So I can do this with you, make it easier for you. Okay. I've been here. Okay. So let's step into that dark cloud. Let's step into that fear. So as fearful as you thought it was going to be, it's not terrible.
It's nothing at all. No, it's like a shadow.
Right. And then all of a sudden it spits you out. All of a sudden you're on to the next step.
Mhm. Yeah, I can feel it. It's like at the beginning, it's like, oh my goodness, and then one step later, it's like, oh, where is it? Yeah.
Okay. So now you wanted to go deeper. Here we go. Yippee. Okay. So where was the biggest heartbreak in your life that you got off the track?
I think it
That,
was also at 3 years old or so.
yes, exactly.
Mhm.
That's the most favorite time for heartbreaks and defeats.
Mhm.
Okay. So at 3, who did it happen with?
I think with my mom at this time, and a little bit of with my dad. So with both of them, yeah.
Okay. So what happened that you were so heartbroken?
And there was this feeling of they don't trust me, that there was something I have to build up, and I don't know what it was. It was like with a toy or whatever, and there was this feeling of they don't trust me, that I can handle it or whatever, and I realized they don't trust me and they don't love me.
Boris, give me that gun. You know, you don't want you playing with that. And stop running with those scissors. I got my cat hanging from the curtains here, so I'm trying to discourage him. Okay. So here you are at 3, and the way the mind works is with what we see other people doing is actually what we're doing. So did you trust them?
Not at all.
Can you give them the gift of trust?
Mhm. Yep.
This cat is so tempted to jump on the curtains, and he is getting to be a wet cat. I'm just okay. So at 3 years old, could you ask Mother Mary for Holy Family bonding?
Mhm. Yeah, I can do
And
it.
how does that feel?
Great. It's like relaxing the whole situation and get rid of the stress.
And now, how far off the track were you as a result of that incident?
I don't know. 100 kilometers. I don't know. A lot of.
Yeah. And so that set up an ego pattern. And the ego's not interested in our goals. It's interested in its own goals.
Mhm.
It's like this core split mind.
Mhm.
And it began at 3. So now you have um you have one part of your mind that wants love and wants trust, because if without trust there's no love,
Mhm.
right? So imagine now that you ask Mother Mary to actually take your split mind and however many layers it goes down and bring it to wholeness.
Mhm.
Because now your mother is your first woman.
Mhm.
And if you don't trust your mother, are you going to trust any of those women out there?
Not at all.
Yeah, because they're going to take your favorite gun away from you or something.
Something.
Yeah. So now ask to be carried back those 100 kilometers back onto heaven's path, which is just ease and success and lessons the easy way.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
Wonderful.
imagine coming up through your life. And my cat is going crazy here. He's running around the room. He's hanging from the curtains here. And now he just fell. Anyhow, imagine that level of trust and bonding going up through your life.
Mhm.
How many less heartbreaks are there?
I think all of them.
How many less?
It feels like ease, you know, it's like peaceful. It's like running
Oh,
through it.
that's heaven's will for us. But we had our own plans, which
Yeah.
was actually to do things our way, like that ever worked,
Mhm.
and to get our partners to do things our way. Good luck.
Mhm.
That's great. I'm just being a cat. You know,
Yeah.
what's the big deal?
Next lifetime, I will be a cat. I think so.
Yeah, and then all women will love you.
Yeah, that's the point. You get it.
Okay, so now, how many less defeats are there? Because the same pattern for heartbreak is the pattern for defeat.
Mm. It feels like nothing at all. It's like, you know, it's like it's very, very peaceful road. It's like you go through it. Yeah.
And that's the way it's meant to be.
Mhm.
So think of a relationship where you had a heartbreak.
Yep.
Which one? Okay. Now, where when you had the heartbreak,
Mhm.
were, weren't you afraid to go to the next step with this woman?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I can handle this one, but the next, I don't think I can handle it. So I better
Yeah.
break it off now.
It was
And
the strongest feeling was I can't handle it. I can't handle it. No chance.
exactly. And every time we separated, like you separated from your parents, every place we separated, we one of the emotions that gets tucked in beside heartbreak is we have feelings of inadequacy.
Mhm.
So every time we get off the track, we feel more inadequate. And so your ego is hoping, oh, rely on me. I'll tell you what to do. And we can do that for a little bit, and it looks like it's getting better, but then it gets worse. And it says, no, do it this way. Follow this idea, and you follow that way, and then it gets worse. And finally, we get to the end of all these ego and expressions. It says, oh, too bad. It's not going to work, and it's time to die. Just
Yeah.
get out. Yeah. That's the ego's final goal for us. That's crazy, isn't it? But
It is. Yeah, yeah.
our ego is insane. So now, so can you see if you went back there
Mhm.
and you realize this is a soul lesson here, learning with this woman,
Mhm.
and what I'm feeling, like what were you feeling? Inadequacy, fear, what else?
Yeah, fear, a lot of fear. It's like can't move. It's like I'm totally stuck. The next step, and I will die.
And so that's the when you have an intense feeling in a relationship, typically your partner is feeling the same thing but acting completely opposite to you.
Yeah, he's running away.
Yeah. So, but you have the same emotion.
Yeah.
And so if you heal yours, it's healed for both.
Mhm. Mhm.
And anything we're missing, like a sense of adequacy or power or anything, heaven has that for us. And heaven's giving is always giving us everything.
Mhm.
And of course, in Miracles, it says, God is that which gives all to all.
Mhm.
So we could just receive it if we have enough self love, or if we have enough to know, if we're not fighting heaven enough because we want to do it our way, it's like we tend to listen.
Mhm. Yeah, I can feel it. It's absolutely peaceful then.
Yeah. And you can go back and repair all these relationships. Now, do you want to go deeper?
Yeah, always.
Okay. Think of that relationship where you're still heartbroken. Okay. Now, what we hide from ourselves is that we use the heartbreak to become more independent.
Yep, I can
Yeah.
see it.
It's the secret story, as A Course in Miracles says, and I found it to be true, the secret story under every trauma. My cat is here now, drinking out of my water. Here. So you could go back there. How far did you get off the track in all your heartbreaks?
Oh no, 1,000 kilometers, so a lot, a lot.
So you're looking at possible women partners through a telescope. It's a very small part, just okay. So you could ask to just be carried back from your own higher mind, from the Holy Spirit, from what I found is the further I went, it began to go out of the realm of psychology into spirituality, but non-denominational, So, but the mind works in the same way. But you can have that help to just be brought back on track. Yippee! And how much confidence does that give you? How much courage does that
Oh,
give you?
a lot. It feels so. I think the biggest feeling at the moment is more peace and more centered. It's like coming to my center.
Peace and confidence have the same dynamics. And so does integration. Part of your mind comes together in wholeness instead of a that was my cat's paw. Yeah, just if I didn't let him in here, he'd be crying outside the door. So
Okay. No, it's a good feeling. It's peaceful and I'm centered and yeah, absolutely.
from peace comes love. From peace comes joy. From peace comes abundance. From peace comes health. So all these things come from peace. Now we're guys who love stimulation. But if we could do it with peace, we could enjoy it more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can feel it. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a point of stillness, peace, and confidence and centered. Yeah.
See, you have come, one of your great gifts is trust. And so you're meant to teach about trust. So what the ego does, I wrote a chapter on this like a day or two ago. It's where you have a gift that's going to free yourself and free others. The ego wants to defeat you, wants to traumatize you so much that you would never realize, never guess that you'd ever have that gift. But you got far enough to realize that, yeah, I'm learning about peace. I can teach about it.
Yeah. Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
And so your biggest trauma is hide your biggest gifts. And a simple way to get through a trauma is to intuit the gift that's underneath and start sharing it.
Yeah.
So can you imagine all those women that you were dating were just as frightened as you were, just as independent or more as you were?
Most of the time more, yeah.
Because that what makes them more attractive. They're even more independent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but if you can bring the gift of trust to them, it changes everything. And some of them, you made a soul promise that you would save them from themselves. Trust is one of the ways to do it.
That's wonderful.
Now,
thank you so much.
Do you want to go deeper?
Much more deeper. My God.
I know you're a man that loves to go deeper. So here we go. Okay. So where we were wounded, where we were hurt, there's actually a place where we have this hidden guilt. So we got wounded and we have guilt.
Mhm.
Now, you had to have guilt before a trauma because you were punishing yourself. At some level, it was just self-attack and self-punishment to try to get rid of the guilt.
Mhm.
But do you feel better after a trauma?
No, not at all.
Yeah,
No.
it's feeling bad is guilt.
Mhm.
Maybe for half a second, there's and then it's
Yeah,
and
I
what,
know. I can feel it. I know what you mean. Yeah, 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 absolutely.
so there's guilt, and then we get more guilt after a heartbreak or a trauma or anything like that. Okay, so that's the ego path. It wants to compound the pain. Your higher mind is betting that you're going to get the lesson
Mhm.
and free yourself. Because when you free yourself, Boris, you know, just like with your book on trust, when you free yourself, you want to free everybody.
Yeah,
Because then it makes you happy to free people.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's really my goal.
Yeah. So so now, okay, let's go deeper. The hidden guilt that happens, every time we separated, which means we had to pay the price of being wounded to separate. We lost bonding, which is love and success with ease, but we did it because we wanted our way and we want independence.
Mhm.
But it's not all it's cracked up to be. And it keeps us out of, the bonding, which is ease
Mhm.
and freedom. So in that guilt, there is this place where we were so wounded that we condemned. Now think of one of your relationships. You condemned her to crucifixion.
Yeah, absolutely. I can feel it. It is.
Now, when you do that, now you love those women,
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
but how many, like, think of that one woman. How many times did you crucify her?
120.
Yeah. So, and if you crucified her that much, how many times did you nail yourself?
Oh, many, many times more. 200, 300 times more. Yeah, it's absolutely. Yeah.
And what effect is that having in your life right now?
Oh, a lot of I'm holding myself back and not give it all.
Yeah. And you're meant to be, your purpose is to free people
Mhm.
and to be happy. That's the number one part of your purpose.
Yeah.
And your destiny, which is your being, provides that icon of a gateway for people to move through. This is a way through. This,
Mhm.
this come, if you come this path, you'll be free.
Mhm.
And how many
Absolutely.
people do you know that are free?
Mhm. Yeah, not so many.
Not so many, and so just your being, blesses people.
Mhm.
But when there's so many times we judge people, but we can only judge people for what we believe about ourselves.
Mhm.
We peopled the world with our past
Mhm.
and our ancient past, our unconscious.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
So now okay, so you have all these crucifixions. How many times have you put women on the cross?
Oh, many, many times. I don't know, 40, 50 times.
But we just had 120 with this one girlfriend.
Put it
So
above. Put it on
okay,
the stick.
so now you realize what we're up against. This is in the basically we buried it so well. It is the most hidden part of the ego where we want to kill people, where we want to crucify them, and so naturally we hide that because we're a good person, we're good
Mhm.
people. But the extent we're hurt, we also have this desire to crucify. But then what you give out, you do to yourself,
Mhm.
and then you're caught. But here's an easy way. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. So what you do is who would you like to call of your friends in high places?
Jesus.
Jesus, a good man to have around in a bad time.
Absolutely, all the time.
Yeah. So imagine you're going through your mind and you're taking all of these women, including your mom,
Mhm.
off the cross.
Mhm.
And you and Jesus were these thousands, basically, blow the sacred breath of life into them.
Mhm.
And carrying them up from those times where you crucified them and yourself, take yourself down from the cross. How many selves, when you crucified yourselves, are already dead?
3.
And how many are just writhing in agony?
I don't know, many. 7.
Yeah, and that's metaphoric because we know we're dealing in the hundreds now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah.
So, but that those dead cells add to your dead zone.
Mhm.
Okay. And they're places you've withdrawn. They're, all success is from contact, is from presence,
Mhm.
because that creates flow. It lets things unfold. And here are hidden parts of our mind.
Mhm.
And it began with our ancestors that they passed down lack of bonding. Now, there's a whole other trap to that, but let's continue with this. So, as you're being carried by Jesus and his angels
Mhm.
and yourself, carrying all these selves with divine love, they grow up to your present age and to those
Yeah.
women's present age, to your mom, and you can give them back so that the connection, the channel to heaven opens and you're more aware of the answer.
Mhm.
And then wires that were cut in your mind, in their mind, in your heart, wires that were cut in your heart, wires that were cut in your body, all of those can be reconnected with these cells that are coming back for healing.
Yeah. Wonderful. It feels very joyful. I can hear the laugh of the people. Yeah.
Right. And you can feel that restoration of the love you had for all of these people,
Mhm.
for all the people that we decided, you hurt me, which is really you didn't do it my way and meet my needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but all of a sudden there's this wholeness. Now, Bar, see what pops into your mind. How many catastrophic illnesses did you just save yourself from?
Minimum 6.
Yeah, who has the time? We don't want to go through that kind of suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. No, no one.
And see what I found, and I found this back in the 80s, that all pain was an illusion.
Mhm.
So if you find the right key, all pain, there's no pain that cannot be healed. It can all be healed.
Mhm.
That's heaven's way for us.
Mhm.
And so as we learn, oh, let it be my way too. Let it be the easy way, the true. See, ease and truth go together. You know
Mhm.
when it's true, when it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it's just smooth. And then there's feeling of freedom. And then there's also the feeling of partnership.
Mhm.
So
Wonderful.
yeah, and it's the very opposite of dead zone. So we have this past that we're dragging along behind us. And it's not true, but it's
Yeah.
very, and so we need lots of energy to dissociate that pain and that
Mhm.
failure, that guilt. And then, we use up all of our joy energy for defense.
Mhm. I
Like
think
our,
this brings us back to your workshop in May, because this is like, we begin with the workshop and now we finally coming to this point, because at the end what you say is it costs so much energy to keep away and don't look at it and whatever, to dissociate from the pain. So it's cost so much energy, and it's like, it's like it costs us our life and the laugh and the joy of our life, right?
and it can't be healed unless you look at it. You
Yeah.
go, oh, That's not true. That's not real.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes, here's a really easy healing method. Think of something that was really painful to you in your life. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And now that's your perception of the event. But now ask Jesus to come in and look with his loving eyes at that event.
It's gone. There's nothing at all. Yeah.
And what's it replaced by?
By love and joy.
Yeah. And you came to be a leader in love and joy.
Mhm.
And true love,
Mhm.
a holy relationship. So, and won't your daughters be surprised? But the thing is, it's like that's your gift, Boris.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I can see that in you.
Mhm. Thank
So
you.
the more you start sharing that,
Mhm.
the more it becomes strong and real to you.
Mhm.
They just wanted to defeat you and have you be blind to the fact that you can free people, that you
Mhm.
can bring them back hope. I mean, who has hope in relationships?
Who?
Yeah, who? How many how many people do you know
Not
that
so many.
not so many, and at the root of all problems is a relationship problem.
Mhm.
And at the root of your relationship problem, there's just a mistake, there's just an illusion.
Mhm.
That can be corrected.
Mhm.
And then you're just empowered.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, my friend. It was great. It was wonderful. So to have a podcast with Chuck Spezzano is always like trust the process. You never know
And, and
where we will go.
yeah, and right at the beginning you asked to go deeper. But now let's do something ancestral. See, First Nations people, as you work with them, they can feel their ancestors,
Mhm.
and it's like they're out of the game. They're in the stands. They're cheering you on. Most of us are unaware of that. First Nations people are aware of that. And it's like you can be the star.
Mhm.
You could win for everybody. And the cat again. My files are just going over the side. So, so, but as isn't that what you've come to do? Is to be the star of the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me motivate you.
Okay.
The biggest problem in your children's lives is being passed down through your mother or father's side of the family.
Um, Mother's side, I think so. Yeah.
So you would do anything for your kids. You love your children that much.
Sure, for
You
sure.
would, you would give up your life to save theirs.
Absolutely. No question about it. Yeah.
Okay. But they need not your death, but your life. That makes all the difference. I mean, your children are still inspired by you. How many parents can say, my kids are inspired by me? They still take heart from knowing you're their anchor.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you. I know your kids, just let's do something for them.
Mhm.
So if you were to know where the block on your mother's side of the family began, how many generations if you were to know?
3.
And so people measure different. Is that your grandfather, great grandfather, or great great grandfather?
Great great grandfather.
Okay. So did this problem begin with a man, a woman, or both?
And
And so what happened to him? What's going on in his life?
the first idea was he was not successful to protect the family. It was
Yeah.
like losing it all or something like this,
So that is one of the greatest senses of failures and guilt that we have. We all made a promise that we would save our families.
Absolutely.
Have you saved your family?
No, I'm working on it.
Yeah. Thing is, that's the biggest guilt that we have growing up. I mean, sometimes personally it's different, but almost in general, that's the biggest guilt. That's the biggest sense of failure. And then we punish ourselves for that. But there is a way through. And this is part of it. The ancestral is part of it because we have a wound like this and it loses bonding. You know, a certain bonding to certain families, we just don't have that level of success or peace or love. So let's go back there. So that was a soul lesson for him. And he flunked it. And it was probably, was he crushed or did he have his heart torn out?
I think the second one, it's hard.
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
That's a demonic test. You'll crush it. It's a mastery level test. Okay, so let's go back and help your ancestor. Time being the illusion that it is. So imagine, what's the soul gift that you would give to your ancestor?
It's love and trust.
And I have the gift of hope and miracles.
Yeah, absolutely. Miracles, it's very strong. Yeah, absolutely.
And what does your buddy Jesus, what gift does he have for you, your ancestor?
Yeah, it's ease, you know? It's like make it the easy way.
Which is grace.
Yeah, grace. Yeah, grace is better. Grace is a good word for it. Yeah.
So now imagine that we're giving him all these gifts. And how does his life turn out now?
A lot of joy, dancing around, you know, it's like ease and grace. And the idea that that there will be hope for a better future.
So what gets passed down to your grandparents from your great grandfather?
Yeah, it's also like you know, the idea that there will be always a way, that they always will find a way with ease and joy to walk on.
And that's heaven's way.
Yeah.
So what gets passed down to your mama?
Oh, ease and love. and the feeling of to be loved.
And what gets passed down to you then as a result?
Trust in heaven.
And what gets passed down to your children?
That they are loved. And that life is joyful.
Yeah. Now, this will change things. You know, some of the problems will disappear. Like if you look around your life, what's different?
Absolutely. I think so. I feel it. Yeah.
And then you and then, you know, in a week or a month, you'll see another pattern being passed down through your mother's side of the family. This is just one way to heal it. I know about a half a dozen different ways. And some of the other healers that are going to come that very first night on the 8th.
Yeah, on the 8th of May. Yeah.
We're going to present some other things. And I'll be the MC to introduce them and to.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to be there.
and we want to do this. We want to give back to Germany, so Germany can give back to the world.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we can set up a healing, you know, wave through the world, and just set of a wave of hate and fear.
Absolutely, the world's needed. so much at the moment. Yeah.
And, you can be one of the emissaries of light, just by your happiness, by your confidence,
Chuck, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to have a podcast with you. It's not a podcast, but I call it a podcast.
Yeah.
So trust the process.
Yeah. Our minds are connected. So as this goes out, it gives people hope and ability, and they will piggyback on what you've done to free themselves and then to free so many people.
Yeah, I think so. I can't wait to send it out to the world. It's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, you wanted to go deep, and
always deep. Yeah.
good work. Good work.
So thank you so much, Chuck.
You're so welcome.
I hope many people will take the chance to get a ticket for your workshop in May. It's so important for the world. It's so important for everyone. And so hopefully we will have, no, I know we will have a very deep and a very joyful and a very juicy workshop with you. And I can't wait to have you here. So thanks a lot for your time.
We love it, Zoftig.
Yeah, we love it, Zoftig. That's a perfect last sentence for this podcast. So thank you so much. I will stop recording, and I see you in May. And hopefully, all the people who are listeners do this, buy a ticket, and we will see each other then in May.
If you're feeling courageous, I'll do another one with you in a month or two.
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's make it. It's so much joy with you. Thank you so much, my friend. All the best to Hawaii. Send my love to Lancy, to your wife, and to your whole family. And we see each other in May, or maybe next month. We will see.
And all the clouds that were here, all gone.
Perfect time. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao bello.